Kick the tires and light the fires, y'all. Elk hunting fever is heating up. Folks all over these here United States are getting ready and planning out their seasons. Now that people know where they're going, the big questions we're getting is about choosing when to go. When do we think the best 7 days will be to elk hunt this season? And what if someone only has 5 days? What if they can only hunt weekends? Are there better ones than others? Do I need to hunt differently because of the time I select? Well, y'all, on today's show, it's our 2024 best elk hunting days and strategy thought recommendations. That discussion, listener shout outs, our spin a winner wheel, and questions from our awesome ElkBros mailbox. So, my friends, pull up a chair, adjust your volumes just right, and welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting, brought to you by ElkBros.com, with your host Gilbert Ornelas and elk hunting coach Joe Gillia. You want to hunt elk? They live to hunt elk. Their goal is to share with you what they have learned grinding it out for over 35 seasons, doing what they love. So come on into camp and set a spell. Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunters.
Hello there, everyone. If it's your first time with us, glad to have you. Hope you enjoy the show. And as always, for those blue collar hunters following our show and grinding it out with us every week, welcome back to Elk Camp. I'm Gilbert Ornelas, the host of your show, coming to you from Spring, Texas. And joining me today, that's right, we got the northern don of the Venezuelan mafia, Mr. Manano Graterón. And up there in Colorado, somewhere on the side of the road, we got that's right, the owner of the Western Contours podcast, Mr. Guy Duplantier. He's also a certified ElkBros coach, owner of the Western Contours podcast, Western Fly Covers, and now Western Hunt Fest. Isn't that right, Joe?
Yeah.
So we also got our elk hunting coaches in the house from Cimarron, New Mexico, Mr. Leroy the Ninja Chavez, and Joe Gillia is in the house. And what's happening, Joe? Where we going elk hunting?
Oh, man, guess what? The boys, the crew, we're heading to Colorado this year.
Colorado, here we come back.
Colorado, Rocky Mountain High. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We did good last time we were in Colorado, man.
Yes,
So
sir.
we're looking forward to going back.
Yep.
Yeah, we learned about the areas where we were. So
Yep.
we're in some sort of a advantage this year.
Yes.
Good, Joe?
I mean, did really good, but had an opportunity to go dang near 100%.
Yeah, really, 3 out of 4, man, ain't bad, right? And Chav poked one and
Yeah.
a little mishap on that one, but
Now I have a lethal weapon for Chav this year.
you have a lethal weapon. Oh, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, he's already got his blind area set up and ready to go. So, yeah. And the good thing is, man, we're going back to country that we know. We actually drew into an area that we know, and looking forward to that. It's some big. Colorado is big areas,
country,
man. You know.
Which, by the way, I'm pretty ignorant on this matter, Beto. I'm using the Hardcraft trade-up to the bolt of the crossbow.
Pretty good.
Works perfect. Perfect. Pretty accurate.
Yeah.
So, is there any big or huge difference between the broadhead?
You know, brother, with what you're using in the crossbow, that's a fantastic broadhead. The problem is you can't find many of them, right?
Oh, yeah, the Hardcraft.
They're not available. So I went from there to the Muzzy Trocar, and I don't think you lose a minute. You know, the Trocar's a bad dude, man.
We have some intel, like recent intel.
Yes, we do.
Trocar. It's unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
Yeah, you know, them old boys over at Muzzy, they keep making some pretty good stuff and have for quite a while, dude. So, yeah, that's right. I mean, you know, as you know, Luis Gonzalez, if you've been following us on Instagram, Luis put some stuff down this past week that was absolutely incredible. And he wanted to call me out on my broadhead deal, and he found out real quick why I love them. So,
Lord.
He said if he wouldn't have had a blood trail on one of them, he'd have never found that hog. So it was pretty cool. So no, I'm proud of that broadhead. Love the Hardcraft. I actually was cleaning out my garage today, Manano, and I
You
found
found some?
three brand new packs of Terry Hartcraft broadheads,
Oh,
dude. So yeah, I had to give you them because you like them on the crossbow. So I'll
oh
give them
yeah.
to you so you and the boys can use them,
Awesome.
man.
We just
Heck
got
yeah.
back from Western Hunt Fest. We were over there this last weekend and in Colorado Springs. Such a super event. They're going to be doing their championship. So basically, what they did was all the people that
Peter.
scored and qualified at the different events are coming together. Those people that won the Pack Out Challenge and different things at the different places, they're coming together in Bailey, Colorado for a
Oh,
championship, right? It's just going to be just those people just doing that. And I think they do their same competition. They have the sprint, they have the Pack Out, they have the calling, they got the course, everything. And man, it was just beautiful there in Springs. I think they had it was over 200 shooters there. It was a great competition. Pretty cool. Got to actually, I got to play with Duplantier's bow just a little bit. He had one of them thumb release things, man. You talk about somebody that just feels messed up. You know,
yeah,
when I try any of that stuff like
Yeah.
that, man, it is so foreign to me.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to like,
I
yeah,
don't know how to use them.
I'm not using no back tension release,
No,
man.
it's
no.
not
Can't do
I
it.
don't think it's a back tension, but he just
Oh, he's
on
got a
it,
button on it.
yeah, it's a
You have
little
to
thumb.
twist the hand
Yeah,
or
you're
something. I don't.
like that
Yeah, like
and
this.
you down, but
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah. I mean, it
Oh,
felt good pulling back, and it really
yeah.
lets that knuckle set in someplace. I liked
Yeah.
that. For me, it was weird though, just trying to get the idea of how that trigger went, and so you're thinking about it so much, you're not paying attention to anything else,
Yeah.
man. But
That
uh,
bow's bad to the bone. He's shooting though. I want
oh
one of
yeah,
them.
yeah,
I want one of them. I just
yeah.
don't know if I'm going to do it right before elk season.
Well, you
So
know what, dude? That thing has a real like that last 4 inches, man, is oh, I mean
yeah,
it like drops in hard on that
yeah,
back
Yeah.
wall.
it
So
does have
that
a hard back wall.
yeah,
I like it.
it's like a lot of tension, then all of a sudden, whoom, I mean, it's just, drops in like that. And that felt weird to me. But I mean, once you were in, it's like you could hold it daggum forever. It seemed like.
Sure, and the release is so smooth. There's no torque in your hand. I shot it the other day, and it's the best shooting bow that I've ever shot, and I like it. So that's a bad thing for me. But at the end of the day, I haven't bought a bow since like 2014, dude. I mean, at the end of the day,
I
so
don't know, dude. That daggum Hoyt, man, that R8 that booger is sweet too, man.
I shot it. I shot a Bowtech bow. I shot the R8. I shot
You shoot the
the new.
PSE?
I did not because they don't carry the PSC.
Uh-huh.
I shot an Elite bow. I shot a Prime, and then I shot the
What'd you think about the
Matthews.
Prime? Because the Prime has me curious, man.
The Prime is a real fast bow,
Mhm.
but I don't like it in my hand when I let it go. It's not near as it's kind of clunky to me,
Huh?
right?
Okay.
It has a lot of torque in it for me. I like a longer bow. I like a heavier bow. And that's funny because my helium's not long and heavy, but at the end of the day, I shot that new Matthews bow. What's the name of that Matthews bow? Golly, I can't remember, but guys got it. He when as soon as it came out, he went and got it. So
Yeah.
it's the bee's knees, man. And look, I've been with Matthews for a long time. I like Matt McPherson. They've got a great product company service. Every bow Matt McPherson's ever built, you can still get parts today.
Right.
And so I
I
mean,
think
if I
any of these flagship bows, man, most of these things are just, man, they're just incredible. A lot of them,
yeah,
I think it comes down to me, like, for example, my current Hoyt had to have like shims to get things lined out in the cams. I don't like something like that. I want
don't
it to be
blame you.
able to tune and be rocking and rolling, man. So that was one. And I did a seminar there at in Springs. Had a lot of fun with that. A lot of cool people. In fact, what's cool about it, I don't know if you remember. Oh, you weren't there, Gil. It was in Albuquerque. a lady came in and got some instruction from us in our booth. Had never used a diaphragm call before. Came and got some instruction, and her and her husband went and she went and got inside the competition, the calling competition, and won it in Albuquerque. Had never used a diaphragm call. Actually, she was second. I'm sorry.
Wow, dude, that's slick, dude.
Yeah,
That's slick.
well, the thing is in some of those calling comps, the women don't get into it. So number one, she
Yeah.
put herself out there, right, and just did enough just to get a score on there. Well, her and her husband were at Springs over here, and she won this one. So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool, man. She's winning it with the ElkBros signature calls, man. So it was pretty cool to see that. And I will be in Albuquerque July 13th at the archery shop doing a seminar on that Saturday. Actually, probably do two seminars, one early and then one a little bit later out there, and probably going to do some personal one-on-ones or three-on-ones or something like that to schedule with people prior to the seminar. So all of our listeners there in Albuquerque, man, we're coming your way July 13th.
The 505.
At the archery shop, man. Check it out. Come by and see us over there and come check out the seminar. It's going to be a customer appreciation day, I guess, is what's happening over there that they're doing at the archery shop. And so they're like doing all kinds of hot dogs and raffles and everything, and gave me a call and asked if I would do some seminars over there. So we're going to head that way. So looking forward to that.
Joe, that Matthews bow's called the Lift.
The Lift, I saw it. That's correct.
And that's what guys, the new Lift, and I shot it at the bow at Texas Archery.
It's pretty light though.
They are if you go to like the 29, the 29, the 33.
And I think the 33, yeah.
Yeah, the 33 is a little bit heavier, and I like that about it. It goes right through the middle of the riser, so you're dead center of the bow. I love that about it. I'm a fan of the new handle, the retrofitted handle that they have. That's you take the new handle off and put the retrofitted one back on. I'm a fan of that. I mean, I pretty much got it all worked out. Man, biting off $2,000 sucks, dude.
I was kind of looking at some stuff. I was hoping to find a finger bow, but I've been really struggling to do that, man. So if I could find one of them shorter boogers,
I told you Dan shoots the Lift.
But does it have deep enough?
I told you Dan shoots the 33.
Does it have deep enough grooves in the cam?
Yeah, man.
So let me ask you,
Joe. If anybody could do it, you could do it, dude.
Let me ask you a question on that. Can you get down below 80% on the let off? Can you do like 75% let off on that?
They have to change the mods on it, but yeah, you could say I want 60%. I don't know why you would, but
the reason you do is as a finger shooter, you want it to pull it out of those gloves. Yeah, you want it to pull it out of your fingers. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. What was your bow let off wise? 50%?
No, it was 65. It was 65. Gotcha. Yeah. A lot of these bows are real shallow on their cable grooves and the cams, and that's where you get the roll. So I just don't want cables across my arms. I've had that happen before. So
on a bow you drew back?
Yeah, it blew up on me and
How come?
it smacked me and cut me across the forearm. But that was during the days when cables were cables. They weren't straight.
Yeah.
So,
now there's much more wheel to it, not as big a cam action. So only, and Matthews has been a solo cam bow for a long time, but this Lift is, man, it's really nice. And you want to lead us off with our ElkBros mailbox?
Sure. The letter we got this week comes from Caleb Warnicki from Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. And he says, the area I have hunted in the past consists of a majority of dark timber on your north and east-facing slopes, but on the south and west-facing slopes is thick brush and oak brush. Historically, I found the elk to be in these incredibly thick areas, especially after the hunting pressure picks up. The elk might only be 1/4 to 1/2 mile off the road, but the walk to get to them takes 3 times as long. And when you get in on them, you could have elk at 10 yards with no shot opportunity because it's thick in spots. that would be your approach. What would be your approach on these heavy cover elk? Thanks, and I love the podcast. And this sounds a little bit like kind of where we hunt sometimes.
It sounds like our country, man.
Yeah, and a lot of the times the elk actually don't go in those areas to escape, but to eat if there's a good acorn crop. But we've been in that situation where when they're within 10 yards, and all you see are the feet at the bottom. We just hunt it regularly and look for an opening. I suppose you can wait till they go to their bedding area if you're uncomfortable with that. But I have seen areas where it's super thick and it's on a good incline, and maybe that's what he's talking about. Taking them to walk, having a hard time getting up to them if they're only a half mile away. So I'm not sure about your area on that, but what do you guys think as far as your approach?
I would just wonder, are they talking? Are they? I would know if those elk are talking at all, because then maybe we can call them out of some of that thick stuff. I don't know if he's got to get in there to them, and they're not talking or he's not calling. Then walking into their home, that's a really tough ask,
dude.
If you can call them into some places.
I want to be in that stuff, man. That's where I like to live, and that's where I want to be with them, is right there in that thick stuff, man. I mean, Chav's right, and they'll bed down in that. I mean, especially they we have found them in that thick oak brush bedded down. They've got food. They got good vision. They can hear anything coming to them, but a lot of times if you're calling your way towards them, or you're doing that cow call, you're doing those single mews, and that's really one of the reasons that I developed some of the techniques that I did, man, is I'm just moving, and because I'm making the noise, I'm going ahead and making it sound like I'm a doggone, cow going in there and giving him a reason why he's hearing noise, man. Because, look, Caleb, I would much rather be within 10 yards of an animal struggling and working to get a shot than be 50, 60, 70 yards from an animal and not have any opportunity because he's just not going to come into my range or different things like that. The closer, the better. And I tell you what I would think about doing, man, is, when you're doing this, those elk, like you said, it takes 3 times as long to get in there. Well, part of that, man, is locating the trails that they're working, because they will find the gaps. They will work certain trails within that thick stuff. They just don't barrel through things. They find the path of least resistance. And if you can find those same ones and then use those as your shooting lanes, man, it's about that setup. It's about locating those shooting lanes. It's about finding those places where you're moving like how they're moving and just keep working. If you've got the wind, I have literally had a bull, man, I don't know, probably 5 yards away from me, 15 feet. And and I can see the body, and I can see that bull trying to see me and find me, because that's the cool part. He can't see me either, right? And he hears that there's another elk over there, and he's searching me out. So really my job is about, okay, if he's going to search me out, I got to make it easier for him to possibly come through a little bit of a gap, where there's a trail or there's an opening in the thick stuff, just to get him to come through that so I get my shot on it. Or he's walking on the other side where I'm going to get me a small window. And look, you only need that much space, man. You only need that, because you're so close. You got to really understand the trajectory of your arrow, and you got to pop that through in those little, 15-inch, 20-inch diameter windows, right? But you got to know and understand that animal's anatomy and know what you're looking at. You just don't want to put an arrow into any critter, man. So,
great place to be. Yeah, great place to be. And I mean, there's elk in there as long as you got the wind. I mean, get in there with them, man, and mix it up. But like Joe said, try to find those off areas off that trail that they're using downwind and get off there and make your little setup and try to get them in there where you can get an arrow in them. But
Yeah,
sounds like to me you're in the middle of them. You just got to play the game.
right, but I have a question, Joe. Okay,
Yeah.
I like to hunt in that area, like a thick area too as well. But would you wait a little bit for them to be talking since they are really hard to see even 10 yards away? Because you have to create the lane, shooting lanes, but they have to, be talking, I think.
Now, Manano actually depends on time of year. And a lot of times in that thick stuff, especially for us, what I loved about it was we were hunting that at the beginning of the season. You might hear them in the morning, right?
Yeah,
You might
but
hear a
then they
couple
shut
of
up.
locations, and then they would shut up. But I knew they were in there. So by me just working through, just taking a step here or there,
Easy.
little mew, they think it's another bull or
Yeah.
another cow.
Eventually, they will show up.
Yeah.
They're curious, man. They come in to check out what that other animal is. If they think it's another bull, at that, especially in that early time of the season, they're going to come in trying to see, okay, what that competition looks like, man.
Right.
And I'm not, if I screamed when there's no screaming going on, it doesn't fit the situation. But
Yeah.
I really like sounding like an elk, just moving through that thick stuff and just a little,
Yep.
It's all I
Dude,
do,
we
man.
did we did
pitch.
that in Canada. It was so thick you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. And we had that bull blow up on us within 12 feet, man. I mean, that bull was all over the top of us. And we sounded like a herd of elk coming down that ridge.
Right.
So I guarantee you that's what he was hearing. He was hearing us snapping trigs and all kinds of stuff. And then we started cow
Absolutely.
calling. And when we started cow calling, he goes, "Oh man, that's a whole bunch of cows coming through there." So he blew up and was on top of us, Manano, in that thick stuff before we could even bend a knee and get down and draw.
Incredible, man. I had a moose, 15 feet, I would say, and it disappeared. Man, and I can hear a long way. It disappeared in seconds.
Yeah.
They are, man, incredible.
Chav and I made a living moving through thick oak brush stands. And then some areas, what's going to happen is some of that thick oak brush. And now let me tell you what, too, Caleb, man, you better guard your arrows when you're doing that because that oak brush is notorious for stealing arrows, right?
Yeah.
But when we'd move through it in the thick stuff again, I actually find those little trails that they're side hilling and try to, get on their trails, and they'll cut back, different places there. Yeah, switch back. But if you can find a little spot where it opens up, now Manano, like you were talking about, if they're talking, right? That's a different story if it's that time of year and he's like screaming at you,
Late September, October.
Because what's so cool about that, man, is I can make all kinds of racket. I can rake a tree. I can scream back at him. I can sound like I have a cow, and I can be within 20, 30 yards and he can't see me because of that thick oak brush. I might even see his horns up on the top, and then I just have to kind of work to find the right spot where I can get that shot, right? Okay. Yeah. It's fun, man.
It is, and the opportunities
the thicker, the better for me.
Yeah. The opportunities you get, they're right on you. I can't tell you how many times I passed on bulls with Joe and RC, and they're like, I can't put them any closer to you. I passed on like 7 spikes in a row. They just walk 3 to 10 feet next to me, right? And I draw, and they'd look at me and like booger a little bit. And I mean, they'd be 10 yards. And I'm like, nope. I let down. And Joe's like, oh my God, bro. What are we doing here?
That's the type of situation where you can be in amongst a herd and there's all kinds of noise happening. So your noise just works right in with it. And that's where you just got to be patient. Chav and I got into a large herd one time like that, and it was so thick, he ended up chasing off on one towards my right. I kind of went off to the left. I ended up shooting a bull, and I'm pumped, and I'm like trying to call Chav in, doing my double bugle and everything like that. And, he finally comes over to me. I was like, dude, now get this. Last day of the hunt, last morning, right? And our vehicle's like a mile away. We were like, oh, let's go give it one opportunity. And we end up in this herd and we jump into them. And I go, dude, I just killed a bull. And he goes, me too.
Ooh, the work starts now.
Oh, a lot of work.
Yeah. The truck was packed already to the gills. So we decided, man, just to cut quarters and carry them on our shoulders. And that was a mistake, but it was.
We've learned since then, huh, Joe?
We've learned since then. Yeah,
for sure. Man, it's a great question, Caleb. We appreciate you sending it in, man, for sure. But I hope we answered what you need to know. Keep after him, dude. Stay in there with him, man. Long as you can, long as the wind will let you, for sure.
Yep, absolutely, man.
Well, guys, you know what time it is. It's time for the ElkBros shout-outs. If you're new to the show, this is just shout-outs to our followers in a few cities with the most listeners topping our charts this week, Joe.
Yeah. And first of all, we are going to reward some reviewers, man. It's been a while because we've been letting the list build up a little bit. If you haven't seen this before, you haven't heard about this before, for those folks that leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or give us and it's not just Apple Podcasts now. I get some from some of these other ones as well. But it seems like when I go look for reviews, a lot of those other sites actually have the reviews from Apple Podcasts as well on there. So if you do that or you give us a comment on our YouTube channel, you have to include your name and where you're from. And if you do that, we're placing your name on our ElkBros Spin a Winner wheel, and it looks something like this. This is our Spin a Winner wheel. You guys see that now? You guys got it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, very cool, man. Very cool. And what we're going to do on the spinner winner wheel, the winner is going to receive, and I'll show you this after we get done with this, the new ElkBros Burnham Red signature diaphragm call. And you're going to love the way this looks, man. We've spiced up the look of our Burnham Red. We put a little fire in it, man. It's and
fireworks.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. So, in the spinner winner wheel, we have T. Admin from Georgia, Richard Williamson, John Child, Kevin Kretzer, Derek Squire, Scott Schwab, Kyle Schaefer, Casey Gamble, Randy, Charlie Newberry, Scott Winter, Dan Ray, Tom Roth, Travis Chavez. I talked to Travis just recently in Greenville, North Carolina. Travis Neese, Stoney Newberry, Aiden Tom. How's that, man? You have two first names. How cool is that? Aiden Tom. I just got barely one name, Joe. Wayne Modelmog. There's a name, man. That's a man's name. John Waldron, Jay Gabler, and Keith Durr. All right, guys, here we go. You ready? Oh.
And come on, my brother from another mother, Mr. Tom Roth.
Tom Roth. Milton, Wisconsin.
Congratulations, Tom.
Awesome.
Tom is the luckiest dude I have ever met, man.
Yes, sir.
He just wins the spin a winner wheel. This guy drew New Mexico this year.
Did.
An out-of-stater. Man, that guy. And look, y'all, this is what this looks like. Let y'all see this right here. The ElkBros Burnham Red. Sweet. That's a pretty sweet looking deal right there, huh?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, Tom, you got one coming your way, boss. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I love Tom Roth. Got to hunt with him a couple of years ago, man, and actually killed his first bull with us on a coached hunt. So, Tom, great job, buddy. Can't wait to see you again.
Yeah. So, Chav, why don't you get us started with the top listening city?
Okay. This week's top listening city is located in southeast Alberta, Canada, near the Canadian Badlands, with striking hoodoos and coolies. The nearby Dinosaur Provincial Park is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the richest dinosaur fossil sites in the world. And this is in Brooks, Alberta, Canada.
Brooks, Alberta. Yeah.
Man.
Brooks,
our
Alberta,
brothers
man.
to the north. We spent some time in Alberta last year.
Yep. Yeah. and leading off the top cities. That's pretty cool, man.
So
Gil.
cool, man. Shout out to Travis and the boys. Yeah, I'll pick up here for Mr. Guy Duplantier. The Alabama state capitol located in our next top listening city is rumored to be haunted. Oh, man. Joe, you know how much I like haunted stuff.
There you go.
With sightings of
Man with the
ghostly
boys.
figures, mysterious noises, and strange occurrences reported by visitors and staff alike. The grave of country music legend Mr. Hank Williams, Your Cheating Heart, is in the town's Oakwood Cemetery annex, where fans often leave unusual tributes like whiskey bottles, brand new cars. Oh no, oak tree. No, that's not right, Joe. Like whiskey bottles and cowboy hats in none other than Montgomery, Alabama.
Montgomery, Alabama.
Yeah,
We
tributes.
got the man
Duplantier,
in the house.
made
Mr.
it,
Guy
man.
Duplantier shows up.
Sorry.
New
It
plot.
was, yeah, that wasn't no fun. No fun.
No
Yeah,
fun,
we're just
brother.
glad, like I told you earlier, man, prayers out there for anytime there's an accident like that. You know, a lot of us are
Yeah.
sitting back there in our vehicles, but somebody's fighting for their life a lot of times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I had to think about it after you said that on text.
Yeah, yeah.
It lightened me up a little.
We prayed for them people, brother. Dadgummit.
Yep. Hey, up
Well, it's
next.
good to have you. Good to have you, Guy.
Thanks,
Yeah,
brother.
Guy, glad you got here with us, man. We're looking forward to what's happening tonight. Up next, with a colorful history of piracy, it's the home of the Dinghy Dock Pub, Canada's only floating pub and restaurant that is only accessible by boat. This town is also famous for its unique annual World Championship bathtub race, where competitors race across the harbor in motorized bathtubs. I think they're on their way to the Dinghy Dock Pub. Yeah.
You talk
This-
to him.
This is in Nanaimo, British Columbia. Nanaimo.
That didn't get that one a
Canadian
Manano.
province in the house.
Oh no.
How would you say that, Manano? How would you say that right there?
Oh.
Don't do
I
it.
would
Don't
say-
do it, brother. Don't do it.
Nunimo, British Columbia.
I
That
think you
actually
did better than
sounded
me.
better than Joe.
Yeah.
He did. He did,
Yeah.
man.
Nunimo.
Nanaimo.
Yeah.
Like Nunimo. I ain't getting
Nunimo.
on here. Nunimo.
Eeny, meeny, miny,
Eeny,
miny,
No more. No more.
That's another Canadian province that has showed up, Joe. We had Alberta, now we got British Columbia in the house.
Yeah,
The boys from Canada have showed up.
That's so cool,
Yeah.
man. Manano, don't you have a
Yes,
motorized?
sir.
Don't you have a motorized bathtub, bro?
Bathtub?
He wasn't even listening to you.
No, man.
You
No.
do know what a bathtub is, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Motorized?
Yeah, motorized.
No idea, Joe.
Maybe a spa. That's the closest thing I got to a motorized bathtub, Joe.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Okay.
You know,
Next
a hot
up,
tub.
Joe.
All right, here we
Don't bar me. Okay. Home of the Great Wall of Los Angeles. One of the longest murals in the world. The Great Wall of Los Angeles, located here, spans over half of a mile and depicts California history from prehistoric time to the 1950s. Walt Disney lived here during the 20s, where he first began working on what would become the Disney Empire. This is known as Van Nuys, California.
Yes, sir.
How do you say that? How do you say
Van
that?
Nuys.
Van Nuys, California.
And nice.
That's-
Have you seen the wall, guy?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A half mile.
I don't know if I would call it the Great Wall. There's better graffiti
either.
on some of the freeway walls than that.
Definitely,
thing.
man. In Stockton, they have a graffiti wall that's got Nate Diaz on it, a MMA fighter with blood dripping from his eyes. And
Mm.
dude, it is impressive.
Epic.
The
yeah.
artwork that's on that
Yeah.
those guys do. It's pretty impressive. And
We're not
the Van Nuys
promoting
walls-
graffiti, but some of those
Right.
they're pretty
But
impressive.
so some people's graffiti is another person's artwork, right? So
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
For sure there. Yeah. It's we got to keep the gangs from stomping it out and everything, but yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, I was just glad for Brooks and Montgomery because they were easy for me to figure out. The other ones, they were tough for me, man. Yeah.
Me and you both, brother.
All right, man.
Well,
Main content.
what do we got here, Guy?
Main content.
There we go, dude.
Oh, it's too much, man. What we're going to do here is the whole idea of this evening, man, is to help everybody out with 2024. Now you're going to hear a lot of opinions out there, y'all. You're going to hear our opinion, and we have reasons for why we say what we say, and we're not all going to agree on this. You're going to hear a lot of varying opinions and why. So it's going to give you food for thought on your best day hunting calories. Now, a lot of us don't really have a choice. Our days are our days sometimes. Our vacation is our vacation. But if you get a chance to pick that ahead of time or select certain ones, there might be better opportunities at certain times, or something that fits your hunting style a little better depending on your capabilities. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at overall calendar thoughts. We're going to take a look at and I always put August in just so that you see what's happening prior to, which is good for, setting up what's happening in September. Then we're going to have September, October, and November. We're going to go through the rifle seasons. We're not going into December. We're just going to take it that far because we're basically going to do the overall, we're going to do Colorado, and we're going to do New Mexico. And hopefully some of the things, the thoughts and reasons that we talk about could possibly apply to your state where you're going to be hunting, and help you understand why certain days, or why we feel certain days or weeks are better than others. So we're going to talk about best days overall. We're going to talk about best 7 days. We're going to talk about best 5 days, best weekends. And we're also going to include some possible hunt strategies to use during those times by considering things like the Labor Day is a huge consideration. It's not as huge this year, and we'll talk about why. The moon, the length of hunt, the hunter experience, your experience, the time of year, equinox, estrus cycles, other hunters, whether that's muzzy or otherwise, etc. We're going to talk about those things and try to develop some strategies that work with that. And if you are not, if you want to see what we're talking about, you can go to our webpage. You can go to ElkBros.com, and you'll see up in our menu best day calendars if you want to look along while you're listening to this, or you can watch it on YouTube and you can see exactly what we have here. We're actually going to start with the all-around calendar, and what I've done so you guys can understand what the key is here. The bright green moons, basically if the estrus cycles happen within that 7 days of equinox, that's about when, and you've got, that can vary on either side depending on how those cows are bred, but those are when the next estrus cycles would approximately hit. So if you are hitting that estrus cycle in that 7 days prior to the equinox, or even right on the equinox, that if you hit it right on, it'd probably push that by about a couple of days there. But you're looking at that second estrus hitting right at the beginning of October. And if it does within another 21 days, you're going to get that third estrus, if they're not bred, that's going to happen right approximately around the 24th of October as well. And can there be a fourth one?
Yes, sir.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's the estrus. You can see the equinox is the red moon on this, on the 22nd of September. And what I did for top 5 days, I actually have 2 selections overall. You can see what I have there. Those are in the blue arrows. The purple moons was what I selected, and we can have a debate on that, but what I selected as the best weekend, if the weekend warriors had to pick one weekend, this is one of the ones that I would pick. There are other ones that are also great. I went with this one, and I'll tell why, and we can have that conversation. And you can see when the Labor Day weekend is, it's labeled as well. It's at the beginning from, that Saturday is the 31st of August, with the 1st and 2nd being Labor Day weekend, the 2nd being Labor Day. The red, what I have the red outlines are what I selected as what I felt like was the best times during that month. Okay. Again, food for us to have that debate back and forth and let people hear why, and then talk about the different reasons on that. Okay. So with that said, let's start digging into our overall calendar, because here's one thing that I want y'all to notice. And I don't know if our listeners have noticed this, but if you take a look at lunar calendars, September, October, and November is an Oreo. Dark on the outside and white in the middle. You've got a lot of new moons happening on each side of the month, with most of that full moon activity happening right down the middle of the month. Let's talk about, first of all, and I'll dig in right away, let's say best 5 days, and let's take a look at archery right now, and then we'll talk about best days overall for the other stuff there. But what I did was, and you can see that I actually put, for the best 5 days, I had the 9th through the 13th, and I actually split this because the other best 5 days I said was the 26th through the 30th as well.
You can't have two best 5 days, bro.
Yeah.
That's
one
the best
and
10
second
days.
best.
Yeah,
So-
that's the best 10 days.
So can I debate why? Can I tell you why I split those? I actually did that because of I thought of experience, about hunter experience on this, because I felt like a lot of the newer, younger hunters with the least experience, I really felt for them that the later in the season, the more opportunity to hear bulls screaming and bugling would really have, because their struggle is going to come in locating. So I felt like the later, the better for them.
The closer to the equinox.
I mean,
too,
I guess the
or just
caveat
after.
to that being depending on the state you're in, right? I mean, when we hit Muzzy,
Mhm.
I mean, you can start off with Labor Day weekend, they're talking, right?
So-
When we hit that muzzleloader season.
So before you jump in there, because I'll throw Colorado up and then we can do that right there. But if we just did it just like this, and let's say that September was archery, in some states like Wyo, you can hunt after that, right?
Depending on the tag.
Because I tell you what, man, October is going to be lit. I mean, let's go back and talk about best days, all right? I said that the best days, actually 14 days in September, were from the 8th to the 21st.
Closest ones to the equinox too.
Well, look, we really love the beginning of the season. Chav, what day should we start elk hunting on, according to you?
First,
Of August.
Yeah.
August
I
1st.
think we started in Canada August, 29th or 30th? I mean,
No, it was
Yeah.
like the 25th or something, dude.
it was hot as Billy Blue Blazes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Hot as who?
Billy Blue Blazes.
But let me tell you why I did that was you had the Labor Day weekend, and look at it though, man. It is hard to deny what Chav is saying, because, man, the beginning of that month,
The
you
moon's
got a
great.
new moon on the 3rd. It's dark for that whole week, which means there's going to be a lot of activity in the morning, a lot of activity in the evening. But one reason that I said the 8th through the 14th, here's the reason, is we know that on the 1st and 2nd, there's generally ruts happening. Guy,
Yeah.
you told me about, it wasn't last year, I think it was a year ago or 2 years ago. You came into camp and they were screaming like crazy just right there, right?
Mhm.
As soon as you got into camp. But what happened the next day?
Killed a bull.
You said it went silent on you.
Oh yeah, and then generally speaking, it does, right? That one
does.
cow dripped and they caught it and they're screaming. She gets bred, or some bull grabs her, and them guys kind of go, to the silent. And those early estrus cows, man, that's what makes it exciting.
Right.
While you
How much
jump
do you
out the
guys
freaking
think-
vehicle.
How much do you guys think the pressure of us showing up puts a damper on that?
I think
that's part of it.
I think it's part of it, but I don't think that, I'm not going to say it like that. In my experience, I know that they do not stop talking. They change location and they get to their safe haven, if you will. Right.
Agreed.
And that I've seen it year after year. right? And
That's
if
what I
you're
wanted
willing
to
to
get out in the
go,
open.
yeah, if
Yep.
you're willing to go, you're gonna hear those animals.
But
Yeah.
I'm seeing
Yeah.
them, and I proved it to the guys there one year. I mean, we had elk. Me and Gil went out there, man. We had bulls screaming on the first day. Guys are driving in. Everything
First 3
shuts up.
days.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
it's like they just disappeared out of the country. I mean, it went silent.
Like a fart in the wind, dude. Bye.
Yeah. But as soon as it snowed, you could tell that they were
Yeah.
still in the country, right? They were
They
tracking.
were still there.
Yeah.
What we didn't know is they were there, but we couldn't. They shut up and didn't talk. But I
Well,
think
2
they
years
felt
ago,
our presence a little.
yeah, 2 years ago, same experience.
Yeah.
You know, it got heavy traffic and they stopped talking and it became a spot and stalk. That's when I pulled up on, that bedded bull, couple bedded bulls.
And generally, when does it restart up again, man? When you start hearing them really starting to pick up again, it's
Closer to
like
the
that.
equinox.
It's that 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th that they start to really, they go through that silent period and then things start to pick up a little bit. So the reason that I went the 8th through the 21st is the best days is because I felt like that Labor Day weekend commotion and most of your hunters coming out there because of Labor Day weekend and utilizing that and all of that pressure that's in there. I felt like you needed some time for that to relax after that first week. Even if they headed out of there coming into that next weekend. And really, because I think the elk start to pick back up again around that 8th, 9th, 10th. And dude, my favorite time to be in the woods, man, is that, that 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, man. That's when, those young bulls that have taken those cows and gathered them up, now there's that transition starting to happen a little bit, right? Yeah. And even though that's a full moon, a lot of people are like, well, but that's a full moon from the 15th through the 21st.
All the better.
I love
All the
that
better.
full moon, man.
Yep.
I mean,
everybody, and I, that was one of my notes as I was looking at the calendar is I think we need to address that situation, right? Because everybody puts so much emphasis on staying away from that full moon. But I mean, that's earlier in the woods. You know what I mean? In the dark, it's earlier out of the woods. You don't necessarily need a headlamp on. You're not alerting those animals that are close to you that you're walking through. And you can still make the noise, but even if you're making noise, elk don't wear headlamps.
Exactly.
You see them guys flashing around. I personally love that full moon. If it'd be the longer midday nap, but I'm up and out earlier, and getting to where I need to be and in position with them.
And look when that week of full moon happening is right. I mean, that's 7 days before the equinox, man. It is going to be blowing up at night. It is the perfect opportunity to hear them at night, to locate them in that moon, be on them at daybreak. And if you're not able to make a move then, follow them to their bedding area, man. They're going to be this is going to be the longest period of the day for them in their bed. It is going to be a great time. Those bulls are going to get up out of that bed and be active, man, in the middle of the day. So I love the full moon. I mean, hunting strategy wise, I'd love to find one that just sounds off in the middle of the day when everybody else is at camp. Because I'm gonna, if that guy sounds off in the middle of the day, you're gonna kill that booger. I guarantee you.
Yeah. If he talks from his bed, you know exactly what to do then. Just get in there and you use your wind, get parallel to him, and call him out of there, man. They're gonna come. They're very curious when they're around their bedding areas and stuff. And then a lot of them midday during that full moon will get up and go to wallow, and they're moving around quite a bit during that midday time. I harken back to my first bull I ever killed in my life, this one right here above me. That bull, we took him on, and look, it was going nuts from the day we got there, but we took that bull on September 22nd, 2013. And it was on fire, brother. I mean, every day, Joe and I, every day we went up that mountain, and it was absolutely on fire. And if we didn't hear 10, 15 bulls and see that many, it was just crazy, But that was right there in that equinox time, So I like both sides. I like the early because they're not very molested and they're kind of more curious. And then I like it when it's on fire too. So, I don't think there's a bad time to go elk hunt if you got time.
The reason I like that time before the equinox is because of all the transition, that's going on. I think it's a great time to get a big bull. I think it's a great time to get a big satellite. Once you start getting after that equinox, when they're all starting to be cowed up a little bit, yeah, you're going to hear them screaming a lot because they're being harassed. You got cows that are coming in estrus, so you're going to get multiple bulls that are going to be screaming. You're going to be able to locate them, but it's a little bit different story because you got herd bulls now that are being harassed all the time, unless you work at pulling some of those satellite bulls in. And folks, those satellite bulls were the herd bulls at one time, right?
That's right.
Briefly.
Yeah.
That's
They
right.
were playing the part, but there's some satellites that are bigger than some herd bulls.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah. So,
I love the breakdown, Joe, and it's generic enough, but you have it broke down by states, right?
I do, and we're going to go to there. But one thing I wanted to, before we jump there, I just want to take a look at, I want to take a look at October. I think, man, from the 1st to the 12th in October, but with that, next estrus happen there, October could be a crazy cool month. And
Yep.
and trust me, the biggest bull, we killed a 400 bull on the ranch on October 22nd because a cow came in heat. The bull that was pushing those cows was not the original herd bull. He had moved off, but he was staying in the wings, conserving energy. As soon as bulls started going crazy, he went in there and came in to go breed that cow. And that's when things happened for that guy. It was during a rifle hunt. And so he ended up being a beautiful bull that was taken on the ranch right there. So I really think October is going to be something, but man, those first 2 weeks there are crazy. And the one thing that is a little bit different for me here is in November, and according to what your state, like, we don't have any rifle hunts in November, or very few in New Mexico, depending on the units. Colorado's a different story. I imagine some of these other states are different, but taking a look at that month, rifle hunting is the one time that a full moon can really hurt you, because now you're waiting, most guys, for that opportunity in what we call the golden 15, when they're coming out just before dark, or you're trying to get on one first thing in the morning, but man, they're in the trees so fast during those full moon phases like that. And I usually think the later the better in November, but because it's coming out of a dark moon at the beginning of the month, I still think that first opportunity, from the 1st to the 9th, is going to be a great time for rifle hunters to be able to see a bull staying out a little bit longer. Even if it's down in a sanctuary, it's going to be out a little bit longer in that area. So you're wanting to find those benches that, they have that sanctuary where they've got water within a half mile. They got feed that they can just get up and feed from. So it's going to be those deep, dark holes in there, but you're going to have more of an opportunity to spot them because they're going to be more active later in the morning and earlier in the evening. So that's kind of why I selected that.
No, I would agree with that, Joe, for November, and the chances that you find one or two bulls still talking. We did pretty good with that, last year with the wife's tag, and gotten a bull still. I mean, it was early November and they were still out there piping off here and there, so you still have that opportunity to locate that way as well. They weren't responding to calls,
but they were sounding off.
Right. Which gives you an opportunity to close the gap. You at least know there's a bull in that area, and then you get that Mohican sneaking and get in there and get after him,
So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this to a state. You heard some of the thoughts. Now let's transfer over this, and we're going to talk about Colorado first. Okay, so this is what the hunts look like in Colorado. There's only one small mistake here. So basically the red line now is Colorado's archery season, other than you would have to eliminate the first, because the hunt starts on the 2nd and runs through the 30th, okay, all the way through. Labor Day is still shown here. What you're seeing in the green in this area right here is the muzzleloader hunt that's right there in the middle. But, you know, I've been crying the woes for bow hunters for the last couple of years, saying that the Muzzy guys got the best hunt at the time. But man, I don't think that's the case this year. I think it's going to be difficult for the Muzzy hunters this year, especially if they're looking for stuff out in the open areas, because they are going to be dealing with full moon, unless they go to the archery tactics. And if they do that, and they got the full moon, it's before the equinox, I think elk are going to be going crazy. And you too have the opportunity to be on them right at daylight, man, and really select some things. Because in Colorado, are you guys full primitive in Colorado?
Yeah, they removed the scopes last year, so it's got to be archery tactics. You're not sitting up for, you know, those I say long bombs, but you know, Muzzy long bombs. And there's some guys that are super proficient with those open sights, you know. But yeah, they pull.
Get all quiggly on them, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if you are archery, taking a look at archery, again, there's different reasons why I would pick certain dates, but I said that the top 7 days, and I kind of stuck with what I had before, was from the 7th through the 13th. And the reason I picked those days is, number one, that they were non-Muzzy hunting going on at the time. And for the same reason I said before, with everything happening in Labor Day weekend, everybody coming out, elk generally shutting up around the, you know, third or fourth. Yeah, right in there. I just felt like that was the best opportunity.
That's exactly what I put, was the second week for here in Rado. You know, that first week to the 5th or 6th, you generally see them still bachelored up with each other, and they're not very. I mean, now any bull situation, right, where you don't care, you can call a raghorn in that early, but it's difficult to get them boys pulled off of those bachelor groups in that first week.
Well, Manano, what did you see last year out of the elk that? Well, it wasn't last year. It was 21. It was 2021 when we hunted Colorado. We were there, and early on, what were you seeing early on from the elk?
Yeah, they were quiet. And after, I would say, 2-3 days, we realized that they were located at 10,000 and
600.
I think it was 10,600 or 500. It wasn't a specific. Actually, I marked on the on X contour line every spot that we found elk were 10,000 above.
Yeah,
right on that line. And after a while, I think it was because of the pressure or so. They went down, and we found elk on the bottom. Not primarily, I would say they were quiet, and they were, you know.
But what kind of animals were you seeing? Were you seeing bulls bachelored up together? What were you seeing?
Bachelor and mostly cows that we found. So we didn't see big bulls. But you mentioned before, actually before talking about this topic, that you would hunt during the full moon, right at noon. So my understanding is that they are during the noontime. They are, you know, probably bedded or something because they ate all night.
Right.
So why is that? I would say totally the opposite, right? Because they were active during the whole night, right?
Yep, absolutely. And that's a great question. So you're like, well, why are you hunting them when they're bedded down? So
Mhm.
so think about it, man. What happens a lot of time when guys get on elk that are sounding off, right? Or are talking once they hit the trees, most of the time those elk are going to going to a destination. The worst time to try to
Right.
call in an elk is when they're going to a destination. I think the evening is better than the morning
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I think they're
Definitely.
not in such a hurry and they're kind of grazing as they're going, unless they're rushing
Mhm.
down to water and they're getting hooked and crooked by the bull or something like that. But what happens is this is they're moving to go to bed, but once they get in their bed, Manano, now the bull knows where his cows are. He has a captured audience. We as hunters have a captured audience.
Right.
So what we can do is now that he knows where his cows are, we can use scenarios and structure the picture that we're painting to make that bull think that there's another cow over here that's viable that could possibly be coming into estrus or another cow that he could pick up. And he's going to, because they're already where they're at, it's kind of like you. Once you put your kids down to nap, you don't mind go getting the sandwich. You don't mind going out working in the garage because you know where your kids are. You can go in the house and they're back there
Well,
sleeping.
mine, they don't stay still,
But the point is he knows where they're
Yeah.
at, so he's going to go off and he will be willing to do other. He'll even leave to go wallow. He even leave, especially because in the moonlight, dude, that day is that bedding period is so long for them.
Right, but all of this is we're talking in the event they are talking, because if not, you have to locate them.
No, it doesn't necessarily have to be talking. I mean, most likely they're going to talk in the morning. And most of us have heard this. We've heard bulls sound off in the morning and then shut up,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
morning I killed that bull in Colorado, we just barely heard him a couple of times. And we were pulling him the whole time. And just didn't know it, right? But you couldn't hear him because the wind was so bad. But we're pulling him the whole time. And a couple of times Brendan had said, "Man, I heard a bull below us." And I said, "I didn't hear it." RC said, "I didn't hear it." So we just kept moving up the ridge, right? And we'd stop and put on a scenario, stop and put on a scenario. For me, I'd rather hunt a single, right? A single bull like that. He's way more susceptible to getting his ass, killed than a herd, right? You got all them eyes to deal with, and he don't want to leave cows and stuff like that. I'd rather find me a big 5 satellite bull like I killed up there. And that bull was big, dude. I mean, it's a big old 5x5, right?
and that's what I'm saying is they will leave cows that are bedded to go.
Yeah.
And
he might have left some cows that were bedded up there.
Yeah.
Who knows, but again, I know one thing from what I learned there is we saw lots of singles, right? Lots of groups of 2, 3, 4 cows, not 20, 30 cows that we were used to in New Mexico, but we'd see a lot of single bulls. And the ones we did find that were bachelor'd up together were raghorns, right? RC and I called in a little group of raghorn bulls, and then those guys came up there, went downwind of them and run them all
I saw a lot of raghorns with one cow. I saw a lot of that as well. But Manano, you were talking about the middle of the day, them being bedded because they ate all night and stuff like that. But Chav, when were you seeing the most elk coming in to the water that you were sitting at?
Yeah.
Well, I've really seen them between 10 and 3. And I don't recall if it was if we had a dark moon or a full moon at the time, but I think like Gilbert said, if you're sitting in the stand, I think the weather might be more of a factor than
you shot that bull at
the
1
moon
p.m.
phases. Yeah, at
you shot that bull at 1 p.m. up there.
Yeah. So really,
just afternoon.
Remember
you were taking a nap and the bull woke you up, licking the water and everything. Right. Like, what the hell's that?
What's that? Oh, okay.
yeah.
Well, like Gilbert said,
story, man.
I don't think there's a bad time for a stand hunter. If it's a new moon, they're not as active at night, and I think they're kind of leery of going to water holes because their prey may be waiting for them.
Oh, yeah, the
So
predators. Yeah.
The predator.
right.
Yeah.
So at in the middle of the day, they can actually use their vision as well as their sense of smell.
All senses. Yeah.
And then if it's a full moon, they're active all night long, and sometimes they may not have an opportunity to go to water. So in the daytime, when all the hunters go back to camp, they get up and find a water hole somewhere.
And another great advantage of a full moon. Remember what we did in Canada, Joe? That we were in the middle of the night, we locate them.
Night view.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, night
So
Absolutely.
you can locate them and then hunt in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
And it depends on when the moon comes out and when it sets. I mean, Chav and I have actually gone out. The moon got started. We got on elk at like, I don't know, it was like 2 a.m. And basically, well, we actually slept out where we thought they were going to be till we could smell them, and then they started sounding off. We had a full moon, so we moved with them from 11 at night until daybreak, with them sounding off underneath the full moon like that, and we were on them at daybreak, so all we did was just shadow them in the downwind side all night long. I mean, it was a little on the extreme side, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do. And we just stayed on that herd all night long. We'd just sit down, snooze a little bit until we heard them sounding off, moving, and we get up and move with them. And man, just check our watch when gray light was going to happen, start making our move, getting in there, and sure enough, it paid off for us. But
What
because
say,
they were
Joe,
talking
life
all
throws
night
you
long.
lemons, make lemonade.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, I remember. I remember another occasion we had hunted all day and we were heading back to camp, and we were in a field of acorn that were probably 3 to 4 feet high, where we could actually look over the top. And we didn't see anything, but we were pretty far from camp, so it got dark in us, and the full moon came up, and we happened to be standing in the shade of a tree, and we saw a big bull elk just come up walking.
Up here.
Yeah, middle of a meadow. It just appeared out of nowhere, but it just waited till dark, before it got out of its cover. So very active at full moon times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guy, go ahead.
I was going to say, so, Manano kind of brought it up with his question about the timing with the full moon, right? I mean, that's where the ability to have a bag of tricks, if you will, right? A bigger repertoire in terms of how you're hunting, right? So you should have a strategy for that full moon period, right? So if you're hunting a bedded bull, you may not be hearing a lot of calls, but if you can, get to a point where you understand where they're bedding, or those areas that they're bedding in, and get in there and just go ninja on them like Chav and creep in. You'll find bedded bulls. You're just looking for ears flickering, head turning, antlers over the tip of logs, things like that. And then, so Joe, how does temperature shake out the full moon, right? I mean, our entire season is going to have variances based on our environment, right? Yeah. And that environment is going to include predation. It's going to include, our predation, recreators, but weather is a huge factor. And that was one of the shutdowns for us. We were in bulls for like 4 days, man. And then you remember that wind came up on us, that storm came in, and we had like probably, I want to say it was a day and a half to 2 days of sustained, 30 to 50 mile an hour winds.
Right.
Shut down. Literally had to 7 miles the opposite direction to try and drop on the protected side. So you have all these variables that play into full moon, the weeks of choice, things like that, that I think you have to be willing to adjust for, not be so in love with what you just saw, thinking that they're there because they were there a day ago. Variables come in, you got to adjust.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Good
you know,
point.
especially things like when you have weather that comes in, I always tell people treat the elk as what your thought processes are. If you've got horrendous weather, you're going to be searching out areas where you don't have to deal with the
Hunker
wind,
down.
where it's going to, you know, you're going to find some place that has a break from that. The elk are going to do the same thing. So those places where they were crossing over and coming back and forth might not be ideal for them anymore. They might drop into a hole where they're now protected inside there, where they, you know, now they don't have everything moving around them and they can catch some of those breezes better. Because when they stay in those areas where everything's blowing hard and the wind's going hard, they've just lost 2 of their senses, man. You know, actually, they pretty much lose all 3 of their senses because everything's moving, so their eyesight is all messed up. The wind is, even if they catch a scent of a human, an animal, or something that shouldn't be there, those winds swirling so much, they don't know what to do with that all the time.
And if it's raining.
Yeah,
if it's raining, right? I mean,
Yeah, right.
olfaction goes down considerably when it's raining.
And the sound, and you know, gets out of their, you know, from their ears. Now, with that said, that also means that if you find the right situation with the rain, with a little wind, right? Not a lot, but enough that it's not going to make them dive off someplace, but it makes it more difficult for them to hear, keeps everything moving just a little bit, and kind of keeps everything in your favor. It is a great stalking period, man.
Yeah,
If you
absolutely.
yeah, if you can locate them. So that's that strategy that you're talking about right there. And
You know, oh, sorry, Jojo.
go ahead. I
No.
was just going to say that the cool thing about the midday Manano when they are put to bed is now I get to select the playing field. So once I know where they're bedded, even if it's a single bull, if it's a single bull, I get to select because of the terrain, however thick it is, however it rolls, I get to select at his same level, below him, above him, whatever I want to do. I get to select that playing field, and then I can put on a scenario like if it's a single lone bull and he's being a little lazy, man, I can be a single lone bull over there, do a little bit of chuckles to invite him, do a little bit of light raking to let him know that there's a bull demonstrating enough that he might sneak in to see what I look like, but I picked that playing field and I know what I'm looking for, right? So whether or not I'm going to try pulling a bull off cows or even by himself lone by making him think that there's a possible bull with another cow down there that could be coming in estrus, that would be something to pull him in, right? So that's so many opportunities once you know where they're at and they're bedded.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
And
what were
then
you
I
gonna
mean,
say, Guy?
you talk about the weather, right? And one of the best ways to, you know, deal with that rain that's coming down in September, October, November is jump on a Western fly covers and get a pursuit poncho.
That
Keep
ain't
you on your
right.
game.
Yeah, I
buddy.
was talking about that. I have to get one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I had to do the shameless plug. Sorry. WesternFlyCovers.com pursuit poncho.
If you wasn't going to do it, I was.
Hey,
Me
there's
too.
several discount codes for 15%
Yes.
there. One of them is
There
Big
are.
O. You can just in
Big O,
honor of
I'm
Gilbert here, you can go to
Yep.
Western. And what he's talking about there, y'all, man, is Western Fly. He's got some incredible flies that are just unbelievable for, you got them for covering your pack. You have them for, I love the 11-footer for
I
my,
know.
for me, hammock camping. It is the
Hammock.
bomb.
Yep.
And I just got the poncho, the Pursuit poncho, and just did a dance.
And the bino
It was
covers.
pretty light, right?
It's
Very
light.
light.
Very
It's
Super
light.
light. Yeah, my
Yeah.
Quest Hex fly, that's the big one. That's the 11-footer. Try and compare weight unless you go into some Dyneema that you're spending, you know, 200, 300 and a half bucks for. So
Yeah.
at the price point, man, can't beat it.
The
Right.
Pursuit
No, it's
poncho with the
phenomenal,
front
guy.
zip and the way that hood fits, Guy, is the bomb.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can't wait to use it this. I hope I don't have to use it.
I was
but
gonna say,
in the
I
event-
hope that everyone has good weather during their elk
Yeah,
season, but
yeah.
hey, we're a little
But
biased.
chances are we're not gonna. If I'm hunting, it's gonna be some kind of chaotic situation, baby.
Well, man, and I love some rain to hit, man. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
There's huge benefits, and a lot of guys will go and they'll
Oh,
hunker
yeah.
down in the tent. They'll get in that camper. They'll go back to
Heck
camp,
no, man.
and it's like,
no,
man,
that's
if you
prime.
understand, yeah,
Prime.
if you understand olfaction at all, right?
Yeah.
If it's wet out, man, good luck. Why you think a dog can't track through water? You know, it's
Right.
the same theory
on.
there.
Oh man, and
Yeah.
if you have a
I'll
drizzle,
never forget the first time I saw a Western fly cover. It was on the back of my backpack, and we were walking out of camp, and we actually shot a little video of me walking out of camp with that cover on it. That night, that evening, it come a heck of a rain on us, and me and Tom Roth stood under some cover and had our Western fly covers on our backpacks, and our stuff didn't get wet. His bow didn't get wet, and he actually killed a bull that evening. So I'll never forget that first time I ever saw a Western fly cover.
it was in the rain. Yes, sir.
It was in the rain, buddy. I
Yep.
mean, we walked out of camp and it was raining like a cow pissing on a flat rock. I mean, it was dadgum coming down. So, you know.
Now, taking a look at Colorado here again, and let me pull that up so that we have it again. You know, that first rifle hunt, especially with nothing having, you know, you haven't had anybody really hunting, you know, for what, almost 2 weeks there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that hunt on the 12th through the 15th for that first rifle hunt should be the bomb.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I still think, honestly, you know, because of the young age class of bulls, and they're just not that, you know, efficient at their breeding. I think even, man, that time period, that next second rifle could be lit, and I still think you're going to hear them in the beginning of November, man, in that dark. I honestly do. But if I had any pick of any rifle hunt that I could have, that 12th through the
Right there.
yeah, that
16th. Yeah.
that's the bomb
That's-
right there.
Yeah, that's the tag that wifey drew this year. So that
Oh,
should be a great
sweet,
hunt.
dude.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great hunt, man. So,
Yeah.
what about weekend warriors in Colorado? What weekend would you recommend to them?
For bow hunting, Joe?
Yeah, for archery first. Yeah, let's take a look at that. We're just going to deal with archery. So, what would you say are the weekends that you would recommend in Colorado for those folks as weekend warriors? Of course, sometimes they'll just go every weekend they can. But if I only had one weekend that I could go, man,
That's going to be totally dependent. In my opinion, and my answer, it's going to be totally dependent on how far they're willing to get away from the muzzy guys. It is a busy SOB anywhere near roads, camps, etc. So, man, that's a rough one this time with that muzzy hunt pushing. I would have to say the 6th, 7th, 8th would be the weekend I selected as first choice. Second choice, since Joe did it earlier, would be 27th, 28th, and 29th.
yeah.
Because and now if they're willing to, you know, get those boots rolling, you know, get out the Chevy and use the Chevrolet legs, then I'm gonna say go after that, you know, 21st, 22nd. Would be prime. But man, if you're not, you know, if your time doesn't allow you to get a little bit deep, and I'm not talking, you know, 1,000 miles in the backcountry, I'm talking, you know, a couple 3 miles, and really hunt down those animals, man. Yeah, the others would be the choice. But
the reason I say the 27th, 28th, and 29th is you only have 3 days, and man, if the hardest part's going to be locating them, not burning any daylight, and so you want to try to find them when they're screaming the most. And I honestly think, man, that time of year, the latest time in there, that should be pretty doggone good in there.
And Guy, obviously you've hunted that muzzy time with archery many times. What would you do to help new hunters out there that are going to be around that type of atmosphere? What would you say to new hunters that are going to, that's the only time they can get off and go is during that muzzy time, right? What would you say to safeguard those guys to be in the woods along the guys that are firing off muzzle loaders?
Don't jump into the woods. Understand what's going on in the chessboard, right? I mean, you're gonna burn a half a day, you're gonna burn a day. Don't rush into the woods. Understand what's going on and get away from the crowds, right? I mean, it sounds horrible, right? But you are at risk of being a statistic or a victim, however you look at that. So look at the chessboard, read the chessboard, and then make very educated decisions, or you can opt to wear your hunter orange and go that route as well, right? And if you're going to do that, there's nothing wrong with it. If you're going to do it,
would not suggest using decoys.
Hell to the no, son.
Yeah, leave the predator decoys at home.
Yeah.
So another thing people asked me one time is like, how do you hunt where there's pressure? And my answer would be, especially during that muzzleloader hunt, is hunt when there's not pressure. I mean, that midday hunt, following those elk to where they're at and getting in those animals in that midday for that midday madness, I think that is the thing that you have to do. You have to, when most of those hunters are going to be back at camp eating breakfast or taking naps, is your best opportunity to actually kill an elk out there.
That goes right into reading the chessboard, right? Understanding what's going on in the landscape.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So let's do this, man.
Good info, brother.
Let's talk New Mexico now. All right. And in New Mexico, it's pretty easy because of the way things are laid out, that really the only time you really got to make a choice. And again, if you have 14 days you can spend out in the mountain, get out there. If you have 10 days that you can do it on the second hunt, get out there and do it. But if you're locked in where you only have 5 days and you got to pick, well, which 5 days according to a weekend to get the max, some of y'all, man, and that's why I say so many people are going to be hunting on that Labor Day weekend, because they have Monday off, they're going to be able to hunt the first, the second. They'll be able to get out there on a Saturday. That's the only thing, is it actually cuts into the hunting time. Labor Day weekend actually doesn't give them as much time as it usually does, because they don't get Saturday, Sunday, Monday and get a chance to take off from work on Friday. You can, you can take out there on Saturday and you got Sunday, Monday, and you're probably heading back out to work, unless you're going to take 2 days and then you can incorporate that. That Sunday, Monday, with a couple of days in the middle of the week. But I think you could, if I only had 2 days like that, I think I would tag them on the end. I would go Friday on the 6th. I'd hunt Saturday, 7th, 8th, and then I'd take the 9th and 10th, man, and head back on the 10th. If I had 2 days off that I could add to it, right? I don't think I would do it then on that Labor Day weekend. I don't think I'd fight that circus.
Yeah.
And it can be, that's for sure, depending on where you're at.
There's going to be a lot of people moving out of the country. And it depends too. Like what I've discovered is in Colorado, those recreational vehicles, they don't stop. They don't stop and they go deep.
They don't stop.
Man, brother, I'm telling you, like, way deep. When I don't know how far they went, but a long way. You know what I mean?
Well, some of the motorcycle trails, and
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, 2 years ago we hunted early season over the Labor Day weekend in New Mexico, and I was like, we ain't doing this again on the public land deal, dude. It was chainsaws and NASCAR for 4 days, man. I mean, it was the wildest scene I ever saw,
But there's a benefit to that too, in that
for guys with our experience, sure, Joe. But for new guys, spin them all way out, dude.
Well, but those critters are used to that activity. And
not at that volume.
Wow, Joe, it was. I counted 100 and something ATVs, man. That was.
That's a lot of volume. That's get out of country volume.
Yeah. Dude, we went up to
Around the
I
top.
forget the name of that place, but I'll never go up it again. But anyway, in where we were at, and I'm telling you straight up, dude, I'll never
Van
do that
Dis?
again.
No, it
I
wasn't Van
saw
Dis.
so many vehicles. It was so dangerous going up that mountain pass. I'm like, I'm never doing this again, man. You couldn't even turn around on the road, going up it. And it was, I've never seen that many people in one place.
Yeah, well, that was,
So,
the point I'm making though is even like in Colorado, because of all the activity on those roads and stuff,
mhm.
I was finding elk that were crossing areas in Colorado that people were just going back and forth on those roads. They just waited
Yeah.
and then crossed,
Yeah.
man,
Mhm.
because they were used to the activity. It's a
Mhm.
high use area and they get used to
Mhm.
that, right? Do I think, I really don't think there's any deep holes anymore that people don't go to get on these critters. I mean, I
I
think
can show you a couple.
Well, Colorado's some big country, man. I
I
mean,
guarantee you.
huge, dude.
But Guy
Huge.
Duplantier was in one of those holes. That's what I'm saying, though. There's
Yeah.
dudes like you. There's a lot of extreme guys that wherever those holes are, people are going into them and they're bumping those critters,
Yeah.
and they're going to the
And
next
we've
ridge
made a
over,
living.
next
We've
ridge
made a
over.
living on killing. We've made a living on killing. High use area elk. I mean, I think biggest bull I ever killed. I had a whole regime drive by me 10 minutes before I killed the bull. So and I mean, literally, there were how many UTVs went by us,
Five,
Chav, before I
six,
killed
seven.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they just
I
kept going
mean,
by. Yeah.
the whole tribe of them. And the elk were coming to them. They just didn't know it. Um,
The
it
elk
just
were moving
drove
through
right
the
by 'em.
area whether they were there or not.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
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 And,
But
So,
I wonder now how much that pressure pushed those elk from the bottom to us. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So again, their natural migration was
that,
headed that direction, but I wonder how much that pressure pushed them.
I can relate to that because the in the place that I counted the 100 something ATVs, I went to the following day. It was a reach, and
Yeah.
I went to the early in the morning, and I saw a bunch of trucks crossing
Yeah.
the road,
Yep.
and it was late afternoon, so they were there,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
or close to there.
Yeah, that's my point, man. I mean, we're in their house. We're running around their hallway, so they're just waiting in the room until we go by, and then they're going to the next room. So, I mean, it's
Until the pressure gets so much, like Guy said, they go to where that's
They'll go
best
to- yeah.
protected for them.
Yeah.
They just vacate the area and move. They probably won't move far, half mile, whatever, but they feel a lot safer with that noise and pressure scent that's dissipated, right?
Yeah.
Well,
And
last year, man, we how do I do this without disclosing anything?
no, I hear you, dude.
We
We were
were
on them from day one.
right. We're on them, right, and
Pushed them
call
out.
it within 3/4 of a mile of
Yeah.
parking, say, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
and as the season traffic increased, as the muzzle loader season, and all they did was just push further and further and further to where it was 13 miles freaking one way, and it was like, this is some bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You walk 7 miles and you're like, dude, what is this? Like, you know,
We
what
saw
I
it
mean?
on our coach hunt too, Guy.
Yeah,
That you
yeah,
were a part of.
yeah, that's right.
We
you know?
pushed them every day. We pushed them.
Yeah. So they'll just keep moving. They'll keep moving. And then when it
Yeah.
gets a little quiet, and you didn't have the one, as Joe put it, extreme guy, chasing them, I think it's a lot less. They can steer and swerve and dip and dodge from one person. I think they, feel safe in that. But man, oh man, we watched them push so far out that one ridge. When I FaceTime you, we're sitting out on that ridge. That was 9 freaking miles, man. 9 miles flat walking on the ridge, but 9 miles nonetheless. And it was just like,
Yeah.
God dang.
And
You're looking
I'm
around
wondering-
like, can I get the side by side over here?
and
Can
I
I call
wonder
a
how many of
taxi?
them critters were like actually went lower where everybody was driving by them to get, to trailheads. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Year before that was the case, we watched the mass exodus. I mean, they literally 6 foot. I could have reached outside the tent and grabbed a hoof is how close they were walking as we were sleeping. And I mean, you're talking 175 to 200 head. And
Yeah.
all they did was they went down valley far enough to where there ain't a road. There may be a little bit of foot traffic. It was stinking freaking hot, and it was an anomaly in terms of what we hear, because everything is north facing slope. This was all south side of the range, so it was just like, woo. And they dropped 3,000, 3,400 feet to get away from it.
Well, in a lot of those, and that's what you weren't here for our ElkBros mailbox, but the guy said that he was finding the elk in the south and west, oak brush, and it happens, man. And really, especially if they're saddles and ridges, they're going to come over and they'll bed on that one side and they'll just go over back and forth on that wherever they can.
Especially if there's great cover and food.
Yeah, it's great cover for them. And I see them bedding in that stuff all the time. So, and if you look at New Mexico, I haven't changed anything as far as when I thought the best time was from the 7th through the 13th, or that would be the 7th through the 14th, because you end up having that Saturday there. So if I was to hunt that, if I had to tag on 5 days, the best 5 days, and I had to utilize what I had with, work and the weekends and stuff like that, I had 5 days off, then I'm going to leave on Friday and get there that Friday night on the 6th, and I'm hunting the 7th, 8th, and then I'm taking those 5 days right there to the 13th. That's what I would do if I had those 5 days, right? Or you can choose, just to go at the very end. But I really think that those are really, real effective dates in there. And for those guys this year that you're hunting that second archery hunt, get ready, man, to be doing some night bugling. Get out there and even if anything, you don't even have to bugle. They're going to be bugling themselves, man. You just get yourself out and listen at night. Even if you have to take your bag out there and lay out someplace where you can hear and listen, where you're not sleeping down in a hole someplace where you can't hear anything, and you can actually locate. Me and Chav did this one year. We spiked out in a little tent. If you take a little tent and you get inside that in an area where you've got good hearing all around, your tent will contain your scent, man, and it'll help you hear where things are and where that's happening out there so that you can get out and get on that in the morning. And we actually did that and killed a bull first thing that morning, because we were where we could hear them, so
yeah, I mean, how many nights we wake up in the middle of the night, Joe, when we're hunting in New Mexico and they're just bugling all around. You can't hardly go to sleep. Walk right through the middle of camp, I mean, it's nuts, especially when it gets close to that equinox, man. Them cows are popping and they'll keep you up all night bugling.
And when it's a full moon, man, I mean, you can walk in that country. It's almost like,
daylight.
No headlamp, no daggum headlamp. And another thing about the full moon, right, is folks don't want to hunt it. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's a crowd tip right there. If it's a full moon,
for sure.
Probably guys are probably selected not to go during that full moon.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I really like the full moon, and that particular full moon this year, being just before the equinox, is going to be blowing up. I mean, it's going to be special.
On fire.
It's going to be on fire. And then
we've killed them in the full moon many days, Joe.
Yep.
I mean, walk right through the middle of a herd in the moonlight. I mean, no problem. Didn't even know they were there till we seen a bull walking to our left. I'm like, oh my God, I got to hit Joe with a rock to stop him. We're literally in the middle of the herd, dude. He's in front of me and I can't yell out. So I just reached down and grabbed I don't know if it was a stick or a rock, but I threw it and hit him in the backpack and he stopped. I said, Joe, I said, I think there's an elk right in front of us.
He had to wake me up because he knocked me out unconscious, man. That dude just don't chuck a rock. He throws a rock, man.
Yeah.
So,
he said, give me my binoculars out of my backpack. So I reached behind him and got his little binoculars, and he put them up to his eyes and he goes, yeah, those are elk. I said, oh crap. So we had to hunker down right there, man. Ended up killing 2 bulls out of that set right there, man. It was really cool.
And New Mexico is better off. That's either some places it's a rifle hunt on that 5th through the 9th. Some places it's muzzy only on that. And I tell you what, man, that is going to be one incredible hunt right there. Again, you've had elk that have basically been relaxed for a week and a half right there. And you've got, and they're going to be blowing up again. That second estrus is going to come in around that time. It's going to be super exciting, man. So just because it's a lit up week, unless you're rifle hunting, I mean, rifle hunting is a little bit different game, especially if, you're trying to locate them in different places and you're having to look and you got that full moon. I'm telling you, they can go to bed extremely early, before, in that morning, you only have a short time and they'll come out after dark. So it makes it really, really tough during that full moon for the rifle hunt. So with that said, I still think that 12th through the 16th, that it could either be the first rifle, depending on the area. Man, I still think they're going to be talking, and if they're talking, that changes the game a little bit because you can hopefully get into places where they're at. Go ahead and dial that scope down and get into where you can get that 80, 90 yard shot in there, and get in the trees, man. Get in there and hunt them out.
Killed a lot of good bulls first weekend in October when I first started elk hunting and working with Carl. I mean, we always took customers in there on that first muzzleloader hunt, the first week in October, and oh my gosh, Joe, was absolutely phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
just bulls, just all night, keep you up all night, and called them in. And I couldn't even call back then, but I could make a little cow call, and that's all I need to do. I bet I called in 15 bulls for Steve Tucker, and we passed on a bunch of them because they were smaller, but I didn't have to do much, just little cow calls and stuff like that. And he actually shot and missed 2 bulls that would have been 340, 350 bulls.
Right.
I mean, biggins.
Yeah. I think where it comes from too is like if your level of experience, because of your level of experience, you've got to select something or a hunting date that is going to be most helpful to you. So if you struggle locating animals, well, first of all, I can tell you, take our course and we'll try to help you in locating them. If you struggle after that,
www.elkbros.com.
if you struggle still, man, get when they're talking the most, at least you can work on having encounters. And when you're doing that, when you're having those encounters, pay attention to the areas. Look around where you're at. Look at what the trails are. Look at what type of features where those animals are found. That is your template for where you're going to find them in other times, man. So
yeah, and if you think you're going slow down. You can't imagine how fast you can cover ground and blow through animals because you're not stopping, spotting, scanning, looking for that ear flicker, man, looking for those antlers just moving. And especially if you've done any type of calling set, whether it's early in the season or even when they're blowing up, a lot of these bulls like to come in silent, man. So you just got to put your time in and be patient.
Any other final thoughts, guys, before we get out of here?
The best time to hunt elk is all month.
I knew that was coming.
If you think you can't do it, I got a few tips for you. Hit me up.
Well said.
And the most important thing is no matter what the conditions, there's always a detriment and there's always a benefit. Find what works, right? So no matter what.
What I love Guy Duplantier with all my heart, because this dude, he is like, freaking gung-ho, and I love it because we get to pour cold water on him on that second side of the hunt because he comes in and coaches for us. And, man, he's hot when he gets there. So we get to pour a little cold water on him and cool him down, man. But I love the guy's passion, and it's been an honor to get to coach with him and be in camp with him and call with him and stuff like that, man. It's been really cool, man. But we get to cool him off because he's hot by the time he gets there, man. Yeah. And bulls have mistreated him and dadgum bruised him up and stuff.
They beat you and
we love him
pretty good.
We love him back into existence. Manon on them feed him real good. So
And then I run back up and start crying again.
Yeah. We're gonna put that to rest, brother. This year we're gonna put something.
Oh, I told Joe,
fat, dumb, and happy.
That bull, I got the same tag, so that bull dies on the mountain this year or me. So one of us is getting packed out that summer.
Oh man.
Close us out.
You know, we like to rib one another and stuff like that, man. But this is what we love to do, and it's getting close to that witching hour, boys. So I'm telling you, it's just a few less than 100 days away. You know, so it's cool, man. I can't wait to get on the mountain with the boys and start calling and chasing and using what we learned, man. You know, guys, if you like what we're doing, please subscribe, rate, and review us. You got to go to Apple Podcast or iTunes to review, so be sure to include your name and where you're from to get in on our Spin a Winner Wheel drawing. And if you can check out more elk hunting content at www.elkbros.com. And just a reminder, if any of our listeners would like their questions answered on the show, just send your questions to info@elkbros.com. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, we're outfitters in New Mexico now, guys. If you're looking for a tag and you don't have an opportunity to hunt in New Mexico, rifle or archery, I think we got a couple archery tags left and quite a few rifle tags still to go. So with a really good unit. So reach out to Joe, myself, the boys, and we'll get you hooked up. You can also go to www.elkbrosadventures.com and you can check out our tag, landowner tags and stuff like that we have for sale in New Mexico. And like we say down here in the Lone Star State, fellas, kiss your wives, kiss your husbands, hug your babies, kiss your broadheads, sharpen your powder dry.
Kiss your broadheads. Keep the broadheads out your mouths.
Don't be kissing your broadhead.
We'll keep our broadheads sharp and our powder dry, and we'll see you next week right here on Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
Hey, and real quick, another shameless plug for the ElkBros base camp folks. Save 15% by using EBBC 24, and that'll save you 15% at Western Fly Covers. And then current and previous ElkBro adventure campers, EBA 24 will save you 20% at Western Fly Covers. Get that pursuit poncho, grab those tarps, grab those pack covers, the optics fly harness, and we'll see you on the mountain.
Absolutely.
Right on, man. Peace.
And for all our grounders out there, here's some more music from our brother Tony Wintrip to close out the show.
Tony. Peace.
Staring out in the wild, all I see is trees. It don't take much of my time when I'm looking for peace. Quiet and a solitude, leave the world behind. It's gone crazy. I've been up and down these highways, man, I've seen them all change. There's headlights in the straightaway where I used to see for days, and 5 a.m. is rush hour, and half the world is sick, and the kids in a new generation, they can't even drive a stick shift. We need to hit the pause button, start thinking about a different way. If we could just get back to the old days. Now they want to clean the air up and run cars on batteries. There's new drugs hitting the streets these days, turning dirtbags into zombies. They're littering up the streets, shooting them needles in their veins, and they get a right to vote without any brains. Look who's running the country, Democrats or Republicans. We can't even work together. I thought that we were all Americans. So let's take out the trash, start thinking about a different way. If we could just get back to the old days. said the West was one. You never stole from anybody, or you'd see the south side of a gun. Staring down the hammer, about to close your eyes, when the man that you had stolen from was the devil in disguise. I remember as a kid hearing about that electric chair. It's made for real bad people, but there's a reason they're sitting there. If you break the law, son, better reap what you sow. 'Cause you knew right from wrong, now hell's where you're gonna go. If you meant to take someone's life away, you bet your ass you'll damn sure pay. If we could just get back to the old days. If we could just get back to the old days.